Okay, good afternoon, folks. And it is, in fact, your buddy Jorj with a bit of a news break today, something a little different for Terra Nova Tuesday. Those of you who aren't aware, and I can't imagine there are too many after the success of Cameron's film, the Titanic actually does have a very strong Newfoundland connection. And I do apologize for the noise of my tapping cigarette, but since I'm not tapping them on the camera this time, you'll have to make do. In any case, as I say, we've got a bit of a developing story. There is a Titanic tourist submersible that has somewhat gone astray at the very least. As you can see from the thumbnail, I've used the standard international symbol for diver down, the flag, with the red background and the white diagonal stripe to indicate at least part of my sympathy for these folks. And we have three different stories we're going to cover rather quickly. You will find archived links in the description. In the meantime, let's just get into this, and I will shill after I do at least one of these stories. So, to start, we will go to the BBC. Titanic tourist submersible. Rescuers scan ocean as clock ticks. And this is from about an hour ago. Or at least an hour ago as I go live, which is roughly 2 p.m. Newfoundland Time on the 20th of June, 2023. U.S. and Canadian search teams are racing against time to find a tourist submarine that went missing during a dive to the Titanic's wreck on Sunday. 5 people are on board when contact with the sub was lost about an hour and 45 minutes into its dive. Rescue operations continuing overnight in the mid-Atlantic, but there's been no sign so far of the vessel. Government agencies, both countries' navies, and commercial deep-sea firms are all helping the rescue operation. As of Monday, it was thought the crew members had roughly 4 days' worth of oxygen left. Among them is the British billionaire businessman and explorer Hamish Harding. One moment. I do apologize for the noise. There are dogs in the house, and I have yet to complete the studio for soundproofing. Such is life. In any case, we will continue. As I said, the British billionaire businessman and explorer Hamish Harding is among these folks. So, given that there's a billionaire involved, I'm sure that's going to be more of a motivator for some people to get the job done. Right now, our focus is getting on as much capability into the area as we can. Their focus is on getting as much capability into the area as we can. Again, we know the state of modern journalism, so this sort of lackadaisical proofreading is not surprising. This was Rear Admiral John Mauger of the U.S., maybe Moget, I do apologize if it's incorrect, of the U.S. Coast Guard told a press conference. They have military planes, submarine sonar, so far in use. Now we'll move on to the saltwater story and what we know about the missing sub. So, British billionaire Hamish Harding, OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, French mariner Paul-Henri Nagiolais, and Shahzada Dawood, vice chairman of Engro Corporation, are on board the submersible that went missing near the Titanic wreck site Sunday. Dawood's son Suleiman is the 5th person on board. And it's actually the father and son who will be the subject of the third article that I look at today. So, from Reuters, a 5-person submersible vessel taking wealthy adventurers on a $250,000 trip to see the wreckage of the 1912 Titanic disaster, 12,500 feet, 3,800 meters, undersea, is missing in the Atlantic off Canada. Following is what we know so far. Who was on board? As mentioned, we have Hamish Harding, is among those missing according to his stepson. In 2016, Harding accompanied Buzz Aldrin to the South Pole, when Aldrin became the oldest person ever to reach the Antarctic region at 86. Harding was also on board the 2019 One More Orbit flight that set a record for the fastest circumnavigation of Earth by aircraft over both geographic poles. Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, their family have confirmed they are on board. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, 77-year-old French explorer, whom media say is one of the 5 on board, is director of underwater research at a company that owns the rights to the Titanic wreck. I apologize for the cursor flicking back and forth. It's a bit of a habit I have, and I had set OBS not to record my cursor. Unfortunately, I've realized after watching yesterday's video that it does in fact do that, and I double-checked it just now, and it's still doing it. So I will be trying to fix that. In the meantime, I'll keep my hand off the mouse. So Shadilay is a former commander in the French Navy who was both a minesweeper and deep diver. After retirement, he led the first recovery expedition to the Titanic in '87 and is a leading authority on the site. In 2020, he spoke of the dangers of deep diving, saying, "I'm not afraid to die. I think it will happen one day." It's kind of unavoidable. Nature is a bit of a stickler for death. It's one of those things we all have to do at some point. Stockton Rush, the founder and CEO of the vessel's U.S.-based operating company OceanGate, is also on the submersible, according to media reports. "It's an amazingly beautiful wreck," Rush told Britain's Sky News earlier this year. "You can see inside. We dipped down, saw the grand staircase, and saw some of the chandeliers still hanging." According to his biography, Rush became the youngest jet transport-rated pilot in the world in '81 at the age of 19. And we don't really need to talk too much about the firm or the vessel itself, although it will be interesting to hear some background about the submersible they're in. Although popularly called a submarine, in marine terminology, the Titan vessel carrying the 5 is a submersible. The difference being that while a submarine can launch itself from a port independently, a submersible goes down off a support ship. In other words, it should always be tethered, if I recall correctly, or always have some connection to the ship. And for the third story today, we will come back to Newfoundland and to VOCM specifically. And let me just close this. And there is a father and son among those on board the missing submersible. This is a picture of Shahzada Dawood, whose son Suleiman is also there with him. The U.S. Coast Guard will provide an update on the search for the missing OceanGate submersible this afternoon. U.S. officials are leading the ongoing search effort, and Captain Jamie Frederick will provide an update this afternoon at 2:30 Newfoundland Time. This is from earlier today. It is getting close to that time, actually. VOCM will have the latest information as it becomes available. A father and son are among the 5 people on board a submersible missing on a Titanic expedition in the North Atlantic, and this is actually another angle of the Titan submersible, which OceanGate is using. UK media have identified Pakistani businessman 48 Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son Suleiman as being on board the Titan, which lost contact with support ship the Polar Prince Sunday morning while descending to the wreck site. Also on board are OceanGate's, well, we've talked about those enough. The Titan sends a ping to the surface, a ping to the surface to indicate that things are going well. The last ping we received on Sunday morning, and while the submersible was designed to use a variety of methods to get back to the surface, a search was called when it was reported overdue. The Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, is leading search effort with the help of the Canadian Coast Guard, providing a C-130 aircraft and a P-8 submarine search aircraft. And another image of the submersible, though they continue to call it a submarine. Technip FMC's vessel, the Deep Energy, arrived on location this morning to help in the underwater search and rescue efforts for the submersible. Company says further information as it becomes available will be provided by the Coast Guard. Deep Energy is joining the Polar Prince in searching the surface. Total search area completed as of this morning was 10,000 square miles. And of course, Premier Andrew Fury is getting regular briefings and has offered whatever support is available, which is precisely what one would expect from a Newfoundlander. We are generally among the most hospitable and helpful people in the world. As you can see, there's a tweet here from the Premier of Newfoundland. "We are all anxiously awaiting a positive outcome in the coordinated search for the Titan submersible and the people on board. I have reached out to the UK and Canada, US Ambassador Canada," I would assume the UK and Canada is in fact the ambassador from the UK, "and Chief Missile Joe to offer our provinces full support during this challenging situation." Why they're involving Chief Missile Joe is questionable at best. Chief Missile Joe, if I recall correctly, is the leader of a native band or tribe here in Newfoundland. Let me just see where exactly Yapakek is. First Nations Reserve located at the mouth of Con River. Okay. I didn't intend to turn this into a rant, but it's about to be. Why the fuck are you involving someone who has absolutely no connection whatsoever to this situation in these updates? What are the Mi'kmaq going to do? Are they suddenly going to magically spring this submarine back to the surface? Sorry, submersible. Premier Fury, you are so concerned with optics that you are unintentionally making yourself look like an asshole. And no offense to Chief Joe, Missile Joe, however it's pronounced, but you're not involved in this situation. You should have no part in this situation, and worrying about updating you on what's going on should be the job of the news, not any member of this search group. In any case, folks, that's it for this story as I have it right now. I don't know if anything new will have come up at 2:30. You'll be watching this at 7 o'clock Newfoundland time, which will be 4.5 hours later. If I hear anything new, I will add it to the shilling entries that I put out. Speaking of shilling, I do have a Subscribe Star. I do have PayPal, so if you want to send me just a one-time payment, feel free. There are Super Chats on Rumble that I am now monetized to receive, so I would deeply appreciate those as well. I also have a merch store, which I continuously keep forgetting to push, but I'm putting new designs in every few days at this point. Whenever a piece of inspiration hits me, I put something in. The next few I will do will probably be my, my transparent banners. I'll probably put those on mugs and a few other things. Other than that, that's it. I'll probably put, actually, let me just see if I can get my angles right. That badge and that. Actually, it might very well be, instead of that banner, I may use this banner instead, the Ask Ardent banner. And, yeah, so, as always, I do appreciate any support you folks provide me. I do have a very loyal Subscribe Star base, which I absolutely could not do this without. And I think that's probably it for me for the day. So, I hope you're having good days. I hope you continue to have good days. And of course, my thoughts are with those 5 souls who are hopefully already doing better. As the articles mentioned, there are multiple ways that this vehicle, I keep wanting to call it a submarine, it's a submersible, there is a difference. It's minor, it's somewhat irrelevant to this. But there are multiple ways that this vehicle can return to the surface independently. Also, they have some very experienced individuals on board. Hopefully everything works out well. Yeah, so I hope you have a good day. And, of course, as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.